Hello, everybody. Michael Didier here. We're so glad you're there. We're going through Leviticus 22 today, and we're glad you're here with us. It starts like this. Then Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons." You know what? It's interesting. He's talking to Aaron and his sons. It's not talking about Aaron and his seed. So, in fact, it does say Aaron and his sons. There's the word right there. Again, it says this vav here says his, and so it's transposed from benim to, I forget how you say that one with the vav on it. But it does say sons. And it says, on the right, it says, separate themselves from the holy things. Does it sound like they're not supposed to go near the holy things in the translation that I'm reading from, the New King James? To me, it does. But that's not what it's saying. Let me read it on the right, what it's actually saying. I try to translate some of these so that it makes more sense. It says, speak to Aaron and his sons, and that they shall consecrate from Israel's seeds my holy things, that they shall not profane my holy name from what they hallow to me, what they consecrate to me. This is all here. When they say my holy things, Kodesh, and here it's also saying Kodesh. Nasar is what they're saying, is they're translating as separate. I translated it as consecrate, hold above, hold aloft, set apart is another thing that they're saying down here. In fact, that's even in the definition, set apart. You can see it specifically to set apart to sacred purposes. So they're not supposed to not go near the holy things. They're supposed to treat them very carefully. This whole chapter, not the whole chapter, much of this chapter has to do with what he says, profaning my holy name and from what they hallow to me. Here's what I wrote for it. It says, this chapter is about the priests keeping themselves in a state of tahor, clean, so the work which they perform for Yehovah's son, who's his son, Israel is Yehovah's son, is not profaned. The instructions reveal the various causes of defilement have already been established in earlier chapters of Leviticus. So we've talked about leprosy, za'at. That was leprosy. We talked about the zav. Do you remember the zav and the zuv from Leviticus 15? A man can have a zuv. It's an issue that's not related. It's a running issue. Well, we're talking about priests, so this zuv is what we're talking about. Ejaculation of seed. Remember, you're unclean for a little while. Once you ejaculate, you have to shower and be unclean and shower. And then when evening comes, you're going to be clean again. Creeping things we talked about in chapter 11. And I'll mention that again today. Bugs and things like that. Dead bugs. Capturing a light bug, moving them outside, that's okay. But when you're killing a bug and then I suppose cleaning them up, if you touch them, you're going to be unclean. And then eating meat that is torn by beasts. It's just some of the things that can make a man. Remember, we're talking about men. We're talking about Aaron and his sons. All this is about the priesthood right now. So let's go to verse 3. It says, say to them. Who's them? I try to color code it. Normally, I use this color for Yehovah. But Aaron and his sons are Yehovah's representatives on the earth. And so I use it for them as well. And I think it helps us keep things a little bit more clear. It says, say to them. Now they put whoever of all your descendants throughout your generations who goes near the holy things, goes near the holy, which Israel's seeds dedicates to Yehovah. Well, he has uncleanness. So they're talking about going near something. Well, they're unclean. It says that soul, and I'll translate it here on the right in just a second, that soul shall be cut off from my presence. This is a warning for Aaron and his sons, the priesthood. And now it says every man. They put whoever. It doesn't say whoever. It says say to them, every man of all your seed, your zelah, throughout your generations. Does that sound like what I always refer to as seed, men through multiple generations? That's what they're talking about here. Every man of your seed throughout your generations who brings the holy, which Yehovah's seed shall dedicate to Yehovah. He has uncleanliness upon him. Yehovah says that soul, that nefesh. They translated it nicely, that person. Although, person, you don't think male persons necessarily when you hear the word person, do you? But we're talking about men. We're talking about every man. We're talking about Aaron and his sons and their seed throughout generations. That soul shall be cut off from my presence. Ooh, that sounds like a very permanent thing. And to me, this is something that Aaron's seed has got to keep constantly in their focus so that they don't get cut off from Yehovah. What a grave responsibility they have in the sight of the people and in the sight of Yehovah. So now he's going to give us some warnings about what could happen. Again, whatever man. So interesting. It doesn't say whatever man. It says man. Ish. We're not talking about ladies. Ish. From Aaron's seed. There it is. From Aaron's Zarah. Who is a leper or has a discharge, a zuv. They actually spelled it incorrectly. They gave it the right word, but they make it look like a zav instead of a zuv. I think we're talking about, if we're talking in terms of leprosy, if we're talking in terms of zuv, we're talking about something that is long-term that needs to be rectified before they can come back in as priests before Yehovah. And whoever touches anything made unclean by a corpse. So a corpse can make things unclean. If they touch a table that had a corpse on it, now they're unclean. Or a man who has an emission of semen. Now, are they talking about a priest who has an emission of semen? Are they talking about a man who has an emission of semen that the priest touches? Seems to me that's what they're talking about. Whoever touches anything made unclean by a corpse or a man who has an emission of seed. What do I have here? Oh, this also is in Numbers. We're going to get to Numbers here. We're going to be in Numbers in no time. I think there's only 27 chapters of Leviticus, so we're almost done with Leviticus already. But here's what it says. And Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, command Israel's seed that they put out of the camp every leper, everyone who has a discharge. You see how leper and discharge are the same thing? We're not talking about being unclean from having sex with your woman. No, we're talking about a zuv. Whoever becomes defiled by a corpse. All three things are addressed here and in this portion in Numbers. You shall put out both male and female. You shall put them outside the camp, that they may not defile their camps, in the midst of which I dwell. And Israel's seed did so, and put them outside the camp. As Yehovah spoke to Moses, so Israel's seed did. Okay, I guess I could have read it right here, huh? All right, well, I didn't. Okay, now it says, whoever, again, if any man, what kind of man are we talking about? We're talking about a priest man. If any man touches a swarming thing, whether he may be made unclean, whereby he may be made unclean, or a man, or an Adam, if we're talking about if any ish touches a swarming thing of which he may be made clean, or if he touches a man, an Adam, of whom he may take uncleanliness. Uncleanliness. What's the word they use? It's tamei. Whatsoever uncleanness he has. So I got to thinking about this bug thing. Touching a bug, I mean, how does that work? Here's what it actually said in Leviticus. But all other flying insects which crawl shall be an abomination to you. By these you shall become unclean. Whoever touches the carcass of any of them shall be unclean until evening. Whoever carries part of a carcass of any of them shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. So it's a temporary uncleanliness. But even that temporary uncleanliness, we've got to resolve. We've got to be, what does he say? Bathe and wash your clothes and be unclean until evening. Okay. That was 22:5. Let's go to 22:6. Okay, to the top here. Again, here it says the person. Now, it's translated correctly. It's nefesh. The person who touches any such thing shall be unclean until evening. He shall not eat the holy. No, it should not touch the, looks like the holies. Yeah, shall not touch the holies. Anything that is unclean, unless he washes his body with water. That's once he's made himself unclean. We talked about, that says, shall not eat the holy. The holies. What does that mean, the holies? Remember, we have food. We talked about the food of Elohim, that is Kodesh, Kodeshim, the most holy, and Kodeshim. And I think it's just to drive home what that means. You know, we see it as the holies, one thing, but we're talking about two different kinds of food. One is the most holy food, and that comes from minka, the minka that they bring to Yehovah. As we talked about that in chapter 2 of Leviticus. And then the kata'at and the Hashem, the sin offering, and what we would probably call the guilt offering. Oftentimes it's called the guilt offering in here. Here, I pulled this out. I think it's something that we should kind of keep our eyes on. Here it is. Listen to what it has to say about the two different kinds of offering, the Kodesh, Kodeshim, the most holy, and the holy, the Kodeshim. Now here they're using Kodeshim, but I believe that they're really saying the Kodeshims in that They can be one or either one. Here's what it says. And Yehovah spoke to Aaron. This is Numbers 18. Moses spoke to Aaron. Here I myself have also given you charge of my heave offerings. All the holy gifts of the children of Israel's seed, I have given them as a portion to you and to your sons, an ordinance forever. So he's talking to Aaron and his seed. This shall be yours of the most holy, the Kodesh, Kodeshim, things reserved from the fire. These are things that didn't go into the fire. A portion of them went into the fire. Remember the kata'ah, only the blood goes on the altar and the fat gets burned on the altar. The rest of it is meat for the priests. The same with the Asham offering as well. This shall be yours of the most holy, things reserved from the fire. Every offering of theirs, their grain, that's the minka, and every kata'ah, sin offering, and every trespass, which they render to me, shall be most holy, Kodesh, Kodeshim, to you and your sons. In the most holy place, you shall eat it. In the tabernacle, you shall eat it, or in the gates of the tabernacle. Every male shall eat it. It shall be holy to you. This shall be yours of the heave offering of their gifts. So now remember, we're talking about heave offering, and the next one they're going to talk about heave offering of their gifts and the wave offering. Remember, both the heave offering and the wave offering are going to be shaken back and forth before Yehovah. It's kind of like showing Yehovah, look, I'm giving this to the priesthood. This is their portion. And that portion is holy. This shall be yours of the heave offering of their gifts. I'm on verse 11. And all the wave offering of Israel's seed, I have given them to you and to your sons and daughters with you. So even your family gets to eat these as an ordinance forever. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. And all the best of the oil. Now we're talking about the minka offerings. All the best of the oil and all the best of the new wine and the grain, their first fruits, which they offer to Yehovah, I have given them to you. Whatever is ripe fruit is in their land, which they bring to Yehovah, shall be yours. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. Every devoted thing in Israel shall be yours. So this is what we're talking about today when he's talking about eating the Kodesh thing, the holy thing. I want us to keep that in our minds. I think when we talk about the holy, remember we had Kodesh, Kodeshim, most holy, and holy. I think when we're talking about the holy, we're talking about the things that were raised, the heave offering and the what was the one we were just talking about? The heave offering, and I forget what the other one was. Wave offering. There it is. Yeah, that's the holy. That's the holy portion. Remember, Israel's seed takes the main portion goes to Israel's seed. It's the breast and the thigh that's going to the priests in that case, and that's the holy portion. And when the sun goes down, he shall be clean, and afterwards he may eat the holy thing, which is his food. The holy thing is Kodeshim, HaKodeshim, the holy things really, which is his food for his lechem food. If we always tend to think of lechem as being bread, but it doesn't have to be bread. Remember, the things that you bring to Yehovah that goes on the fire is his food, his lechem. Well, this is the priest's lechem, their portion of those foods, or in case of kata'ah, minka, and Hashem, the whole thing. Verse 8. It says, whatever dies naturally or is dies naturally, died of old age, or is torn by beasts, he shall not eat to defile himself with it. I am Yehovah. So we can't eat things that die of themselves. It got cancer, it died of old age, or whatever. Or if it's torn by beasts, it's killed. That's not something that we can have. We have to give it to, I'm not even sure Israel can eat that. I think that the Ger can eat that. Here's Leviticus 17. That says, every person who eats what died naturally or what was torn by beasts, whether he is native born or a stranger, he shall wash his clothes and bathe in water and be unclean and So I guess we can eat it. Both native born, the Ezra men, remember when it says native of your land, we're talking about Ezra men, Israel's seed. They're one and the same. Or the stranger is the Ger who dwells with us. So we can eat it, it looks like, but we have to eat it and then wash. Choosing to eat torn things or that which died naturally is making us a decision to be unclean for a short time. Yeah, it is, isn't it? So we have to understand we're choosing to be unclean with the understanding that we need to wash our clothes and bathe before evening. The priests do not get this portion. They don't get it at all. They are not able to choose to be unclean for any reason. No, I take it back. Remember we talked about a corpse. A priest, if they have a near of kin, there was different kinds of near of kin that were okay. The high priest couldn't do it, but the priests could do it. But Aaron's sons couldn't do it when their brothers died. Why? Because they were the only priests. So when we have a large priesthood, then a priest can take care of his dead parents, his brother, his sister who's not married, and those kinds of things. I put, does this seem like a bit of a contradiction? Why am I saying that? Written to the priest, he says, whatever dies naturally or is torn by beasts he shall not eat to defile himself with it. I am Yehovah. So this is this is the one we're in right now. Okay, they're not supposed to eat it. Written to the Ezra. Oh yeah, this was written to the priests. Okay, so maybe it's not a contradiction. Written to the Ezra, Israel's seed, and you shall be holy men to me. You shall not eat meat torn by beasts in the field. You shall throw it to the dogs. So there, contrary to what we just read in Leviticus 17, where the Ezra and the stranger could eat meat that was torn or died naturally. Here it's saying, in a sense, just the opposite. Here again is Ezra, Israel's seed. You shall not eat anything that dies of itself. You may give it to an alien, probably out of the Bendakar, who is within your gates, that he may eat it. It might be a Toshab even, who's within your gates, that he may eat it. Or you may sell it to a foreigner. Now that's probably the Bendakar. So probably we're talking about an alien is the Toshav, and the Bendakar is the foreigner. For you are a holy people to Yehovah, your Elohim. You shall not boil a goat. And that's so what do we do? I think we can eat it, but we're going to have to decide that we're going to be unclean for a short time. 9. They, again, we're talking about the priests, shall therefore keep my ordinances, lest they bear sin for it and die thereby. If they profane it, but die thereby if they profane it. I am Yehovah who sanctifies them. Now it says the outsider. Look these words up, you guys. Bendakar. Foreigner. We We just talked about this. You've got to look these up. When it says stranger, where did we just read that? Yeah, here. When it talks about foreigner, when it talks about alien, when it talks about a stranger, you've got to look it up. You can't just assume that you know what it says. Here, and we're going to see it today, sometimes they translate the stranger as the ger, but sometimes they translate the stranger as something else. You've got to search it out so we understand what we're actually finding out. Here, it says no outsider. No outsider. What is that? Gerim? The word that they use here is zor. And normally, a zor is somebody who is not from Israel. But there are cases when a zor is somebody from Israel, and we're going to have to talk about what that means. Here we're talking about the priesthood. If you're not from the priesthood, you are a zor. Now, here they're going to talk about, I think, somebody who's from perhaps another land that's visiting. Here it says this. No outsider shall eat the holy, the kodesh, the kodesh. He says the toshav, one who dwells with you, one who dwells with the priest, one who dwells with the priest. That's the toshav. See, it doesn't even use a word, and we're missing what it actually says. Remember the toshav. Who's a toshav? He's somebody that has some kind of a relationship with Israel, but he's not Israel. He doesn't keep Israel's ways. He doesn't keep Israel's laws, their traditions. He's separate. So this is talking about, I just think this is really interesting, that one who dwells with the priest. If a toshav dwells with the priest, or a hired servant. Here's the next word that we're talking about, toshav, and then sakir, a man who is paid by wages. So if you have a guest from your house, or a guest who has some kind of, maybe it's a business partner, and he's coming to your house, he doesn't get to eat your food if you're a priest. Or if you got a hired servant, he doesn't get to eat your food. And he says, and one who is born in his house. No. We're still in that verse above. They shall not eat the holy thing. Holy thing. One, the holy thing. He goes on. But if the priest buys a nefesh, there's the word right there. If the priest buys a nefesh, we're talking about a male or a female nefesh. It says, with his money, he may eat it. Now they said he, I think it could be a she. And one who is born in his house may eat it. So this is if a nefesh becomes a male or a female servant. They can eat it. They are part of the family. They are his. Just as his wife is his, just as his children are his, just as his animals are his. Their belongings to the man. You know, this is a hard concept for people to really understand, that a woman is your property. Oh, we're going to talk about divorce here. We talked about divorce last week. 5 different kinds of women. We'll talk about that as we get through here. We're going to see, in fact, I think we're going to see it here in the next couple verses. Yeah. So one born in a house can eat it. It says, if the priest's daughter, in verse 12, I'm going to read it on the right, if the priest's daughter becomes Haya, Azor's Isha. Azor's ish. Azor's ish. She becomes Azor's ish. She becomes not as Azor man. Azor man's. She becomes Azor man's. What does that mean? Azor man's. A non-priest's man is who she belongs to. She's going to become the property of Azor man. Maybe that's a better way to say it. It says, she shall not eat the holy. She may not eat it. The holy presence. Now here they put holy offerings. Normally, offerings is just an added word. But in this case, it's a translation, supposedly, from this word here, which says tarumah, the holy present that comes from Israel's seed to the priesthood. She may not eat it when she becomes the Zor man's woman. That's a good way to say it. A Zor man's woman. She doesn't get to eat it. Obviously, he doesn't get to eat it. I was going to say no holiday meals, but Yehovah doesn't have holidays, does he? He has holy days. Christmas, Easter, those aren't Yehovah's. He's got other feast days, other holy days, not holidays. Now, look what it says in 13. But if the priest's daughter is a widow, or they put, or divorced. Oh, I take real issue with this word divorce, because this is a word we talked about last week that is translated as divorce, but look what it actually is driven away. It's ga'ash, to drive out from a possession, especially to expatriate or divorce. No, you hear this word divorce. Folks, a woman doesn't divorce her man. Doesn't happen. If he finds some uncleanliness in her, he puts her out of his house. He sends her away. He ga'ashes her, drives her away. She doesn't go with his kids. His kids stay with him. This is the world that we're about to enter, I think. No, there is no divorce initiated by a woman in Yehovah's kingdom. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Now, there are cases where maybe that might be acceptable, but that would only be where the man has done something that he's supposed to be killed for. Slept with another man's wife. Not sleeping with another woman. Two entirely different things. We've got to get this straight in our heads. So, let me continue reading. But if the priest's daughter is a widow or a driven away woman and no seed exists, no zerah exists, here's the word for exists, and no seed, no zerah exists. So the priest's daughter, who is a widow, remember, we're supposed to take care of our widows and orphans, aren't we? Well, in a case of a woman being driven away, where's she going to go? She's going to have to go back to her family. But as long for a priest, as long as there's no seed that exists, once the seed that exists, where does the woman go? I don't know. Is she going to have to sell herself to another man? Worst case, marry another man if she can. Otherwise, Sounds like she may be on streets, doesn't it? It says, and return it to her father's house as in her youth. She may eat her father's food, but no outsider, no Zor, shall eat thereof. But, remember I said a Zor could even be Israel? Israel's seed. Keep in mind, priests are part of Israel's seed. But not all Israel's seed are priests. If you're a member of the priesthood, anyone outside of that membership is, in a sense, a Zor to you. Let me show you a couple things. In this case, Zor can be anyone who is not a priest. Even Israel's seed can be a Zor. I found some verses that I want us to think about. Here it is, Numbers 3. You shall appoint Aaron and his sons. They shall attend to their priesthood, but no outsider who comes near, but the outsider who comes near shall be put to death. So in this case, we're talking about, remember, in the middle of our camp is the tabernacle. Around the tabernacle is all of the Levites. At the doorway of the tabernacle are the priesthood, Aaron, Moses. Seems like there was one other tribe. Maybe it was Judah, I think. They're at the east side where the door to the tent of meetings is. Israel's seed doesn't haphazardly walk into those places really without permission. They are Zor to that. So here's another one. Moreover, those who were to camp before the tabernacle on the east, before the tabernacle of meeting, were Aaron, Moses, and his sons. Moses, Aaron, and his sons. Maybe Judah wasn't there. I was thinking Moses and Aaron and Judah were on that side. We'll look it up sometime. Keeping charge of the sanctuary. So they're keeping charge. They're making sure nobody goes in when they're not supposed to meet the needs of Israel's seed. But no outsider who came near was to be put, but the outsider who came near was to be put to death. Kind of the same idea. To be a memorial to Israel's seed, that no outsider who is not of the descendants of Aaron. See, there's no outsider, no Zor, who is not a descendant of Aaron, should come near to offer incense before Yehovah, that he might not become like Korah and his companions, Korah, Dathan, and Abiram, just as Yehovah had said to him through Moses. They shall be joined with you and attend to the needs of the tabernacle of meeting, for all the work of the tabernacle, but an outsider shall not come near you. Again, we're talking about Israel's seed, somebody who's not part of the priesthood or the Levites. Therefore, you and your sons with you shall attend to your priesthood for everything at the altar and behind the veil, and you shall serve, I give your priesthood to you as a gift for service. But the outsider, the Zor, who comes near, shall be put to death. Yeah. So going into the tabernacle, if an average Israelite and Judean, any of the other Israelites were to go into that, they would be put to death. And again, if she has no seed. The seed, she's got a seed from a Zor, he can't raise that child, male or female, in her father's house. She's going to have to go someplace else. Okay, 14. And if a man, here's an ish, if a man, and if a man, and a man eats the holy thing, unintentionally, then he shall restore. We're talking about the outsider in this context, but no outsider shall eat it. And if a man, it still says ish, eats the holy, unintentional, then he shall restore, this is unintentional sin, he shall restore the holy to the priest and add 1/5 to it. So you take how much you ate and add 20% more, I guess. I put this is probably something that was supposed to be given to Yehovah, but he did not know it until later. Given to Yehovah, eaten by the priest. This is supposed to probably better said. This is something that was supposed to be eaten by the priests, but he did not know it. Let me just fix that if you don't mind. It's supposed to be eaten by a priest, but he did not know it. Another thought, but still kind of related. It says, and they shall not profane. We've seen this word many times, kalal. We shall not, remember one of the women that, what do we have? The 5 kinds of women. Virgin, widow, divorced, profane. That's the word here, kalal. The woman who sleeps around for free. And then the harlot, the one who sleeps around for pay. We have a lot of profane women in our land right now. It's time to repent. Can we repent of that? I think we can. And they shall not profane. Boy, that was a hiatus, wasn't it? They shall not profane my holy, which Israel's seed raised. Remember, they raised unto Yehovah. They raised it and shook it. That's what we're talking about. The heave offering and the wave offering. Verse 16. Or allow them to bear guilt of trespass, guilt of asham, when they eat their holy. What do they have? When they eat their, guilt of asham, when they eat their holy. This is the man who's not of Israel. He's he's not a priest. He's not a priest. Allow them to bear guilt of trespass when they eat the holy. Eat their holy. Their holy. Their. I guess we could say there. If I put this in. Shoot. Hit the wrong button, didn't I? Let's fix that. And then eat. There, that's what I was trying to do. There. Come on, Michael. There it is. There. They're holy. All right. The priest holy. For Yehovah sanctifies them. And Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, now look who he's going to talk to. He was talking to Moses and Aaron. Moses was talking to Aaron and his sons. Now he's going to speak to Aaron and his sons and all Israel's seed and say to them, whatever man, can you guess what that might mean or how that might be translated from? Look, speak to Aaron and his sons and to all Israel's seed and say to them, man. They translated it, any man, whatever man of Israel's house or the strangers in Israel. Now, line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. When we talk about Israel's seed, that's who he's speaking to right now. He's talking to Aaron and his sons and Israel's seed. Really, Aaron and his sons are Israel's seed, aren't they? So we have Israel's seed and the Ger who dwell with them. In this case, they're making a distinction when they say Israel's house. Who are we talking about? You've got to understand it as Israel's seed and Aaron and his sons, which really is Israel's seed itself. So Israel's house is another name for Israel's seed. Same group of people as the men, or the stranger, the Garim in Israel, who brings an offering, a korban, for any vow. The word for vow is this one here, neder, or any free will offering, any free will, nedabah, which they bring to Yehovah as an olah. So this is any of the Israel's house, again, Aaron and his sons, and Israel's seed, any man, or the stranger in Israel, a stranger who dwells with us, who brings a korban, a vow, a free will, or an olah. When we see olah, I want you to think of olah. It says, bring for a rising to Yehovah. That's what olah means. It's to bring a rising to Yehovah. Remember, it's a sweet aroma to Yehovah's nostrils, if you will. Here's the first time we talked about a vow and a free will offering, free will, thanksgiving, slaughter. You know what? I think I'm going to save this I'm just going to not use this today. I mean, we get too inundated with some of this stuff. Let's go to the next. 19. You shall offer your own. Here, I wrote it here. 19. You shall bring for your own delight. Look what they say. You shall bring of your free will. Bring of your free will. Now, you shall offer. I added that too, because I just don't know another way to say that. But it doesn't say for your free will. It says for your delight. Here's the word. Ratzon. Delight. Desire. Pleasure. Bring for your own delight. For a vow, a free will offering. Remember, we're going to eat it. This is something we're going to eat. Bring it for your own delight. What does it say? A male, whole and alive. This is the word tamim. We talked about this early on in Leviticus 3 and 4. Shalamim was 3. The 4 was the kata'ah, the sin offering. But here we're talking about the vow and the free will offering. I guess they were more, maybe even 7, 8 in Leviticus that we actually talked about these. We're on 19. It says without blemish, free. A lot. That's where I was going. This. It talks about tamim, alive and whole. Got all its parts, from the cattle and the sheep and the goats, and they never talk about zoom. No, mum. They translate it often as without blemish. And I always took exception with the fact that they translate it without blemish. And I have to say that I think I was wrong. Because when I look at this, talking about vows, free will offerings, It says whole and alive. But the very next verse, look what it says. Whole and alive, here we are, which they bring to Yehovah as an olah. You shall bear its... No, that's not where we are. We are on 20 now. Whole and alive from the cattle, from the sheep, or from the goats. Whatever has a defect, there it is. Whatever has a defect, a mum. So apparently when we're talking about especially a vow and a free will offering, maybe not a shalamim, maybe, but for a vow and a vow and a, what was the other one? Free will offering. It says it can't have a mum. We're going to talk about what a mum is right now. You shall not bring it, for it shall not be acceptable on your behalf. Here's mums. Vow or free will, Thanksgiving offerings. The priests. We talked in Leviticus 21. Last week, we talked about things that would keep a man from being part of the priesthood, working on the altar or going in the tabernacle. Blindness, a broken arm or leg, scurvy, a boil, scar, a limb too short or long, a limb too short or long, contracted. How do I have to contract it there? Crust testes, cut testes, or defect of the eye. Well, now we're talking about animals that have mums. And there's a lot of similarities between the two. 21 and now 22. Blindness. One injured or maimed. Scurvy. A boil or a scar. Let's do this. Let's make it look like a boil scar. Let's boil or a scar. Do that. A limb extended or contracted. There's where it goes. That's why contracted was there. Or crushed or torn. Crushed, bruised, or torn. Talking about its testes. Talking about male animals. 21. And whoever. 21. And if a man, that's what it says. It doesn't say who and whoever offers. And if a man brings a slaughtered shalamim to Yehovah to accomplish a vow or free will in cattle or beeves or flocks, the own, which would include sheep and goats. It must be whole. There it is again, whole, tamim. To be accepted, it must be completely without blemish, without mum. Yes. Oh, interesting. You know, you find some of these things as you dig deeper into the scriptures. Now, 22. Continuing this thought. Here it is. Those that are blind or broken or maimed or have an ulcer or eczema, scabs, you shall not bring these to Yehovah as an olah. Bring them to Yehovah and burn them on the altar to Yehovah. So by throwing in that word olah, it kind of confused you, I think. We're talking about burning the fat. That's what's going to be burned on the altar. But Yehovah doesn't want their fat if they're blind or broken, maimed, have ulcer, eczema, scabs. You shall not bring those. He goes on. Either a bull and a sheep or goat. It doesn't say, look, it says bull or lamb. But the word that they're using here is this word, say. Say means a sheep or goat, a member of the flock. Through the idea of pushing out to graze, a member of the flock that is a sheep or a goat. They put lamb. I think they could do a better job. At least maybe spell it out. A bull or a sheep or a goat that has a limb too long or too short, you may offer as a free will, as a negabah, nedabah. But for a vow, it shall not be accepted. So the priests, they have to be really in tune when a man is bringing an offering. What is this for? The free will offering? Oh, it's a vow. Oh, but the leg's too short. We can't use it for a vow, but we can use it for a free will. These are all things that have to be discussed before we even slaughter the animal. 24. You shall not bring, they put offer, you shall not bring, is the word, to Yehovah what is bruised or crushed or torn or cut, talking about testes. Nor shall you make in your land. I thought, what does this mean? Make any offering of them in your land. Neither shall ye do thus in your land. Why is he even talking about doing this in your land? I mean, aren't we talking about, it seems redundant. I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. This one said, this is Bible in Basic English, an animal which has its sex parts damaged. Remember, this is a living translation, if you will. It's not really a translation. An animal which has its sex parts damaged or crushed or broken or cut may not be offered to Yehovah. Such a thing may not be done anywhere in your land. I guess that's what he's saying. You just can't do it anywhere. So where else are you going to do it? The temple's only there. I don't know. Now he says, nor from a foreigner's hand. Remember when I said, look it up. Why, whenever you see stranger, foreigner, so many of the other words, you got to look it up. In this case, it says Ben Nakar. Remember, Ben Nakar doesn't even know Israel. The Toshab at least has a relationship with Israel, but the Ben Nakar doesn't even know Israel. Most of the people in the world, I would say they're Ben Nakar. They don't know Israel. They don't know. They think they know Israel. Oh, they're people that live in the land of Israel. They're God's people. You know, they don't know. They don't know that Israel is Ezra men. They don't know it. So most people are Ben Nakar. I was a Ben Nakar till I was almost 45 years old. When I met a man that was wearing tzitzi, who to this day I don't think was really Israel, but he was closer to Israel. He was starting to learn Israel's ways. He says, nor from a Ben Nakar's hand shall you bring any of these as food for your Elohim, because their corruption, their mum is in them. No, I'm sorry, their corruption is in them, and defects, mum, are in them. They shall not be accepted on your behalf. You didn't raise them. You didn't feed them. You don't know what's in them. You don't know if they were injected or got nanobots put in them. You don't know anything about them. Goes on. And Yehovah spoke to Moses, saying, now, who's he going to speak to? He's just speaking to Moses right now. When a bull or a sheep or a goat, so here now they're spelling it out, bull or a sheep or a goat, is born, it shall be 7 days with its mother. And from the 8th day and thereafter, it shall not be accepted as a, I don't know what that says. Let's see if I have it. Oh, here. It shall be pleasing from that day, from the 8th day and thereafter, here it is, it shall be pleasing, Rashak, a pleasing offering to Yehovah's fire. After the 8th day. 8th day. I think that has some significance. This is a note by a man that I greatly respect, Glenn McWilliams. I listened to his Torah teachings for many years, every week. And I learned a lot from him. I moved on, but I learned a lot from him. He wrote this: the requirement that an animal remain with its mother for 8 days is given no explanation in Torah. I will suggest, therefore, that the 8th day requirement may have to do with viability of life. Infant mortality for both man and beast was relatively high in ancient days. Has it changed? I don't know that it's changed. I think infant mortality probably is about the same. Note that the male Israelite does not receive a sign of the covenant until he is 8 days old. That's when we circumcise our children, our males. The requirement that an animal be left with its mother for 8 days assures that the newborn animal is indeed viable, not sickly or dying. If this is so, then the requirement is consistent with the standards of physical perfection listed in previous verses. Let us also recall the number 8 in the scriptures alludes to the fullness of life and new beginnings. Yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting thought. Well, I'm not going to go into E.W. Bollinger right now. You can read it if you want. Just pause the video. Next, it says, new thought. Whether it is a cow or a ewe, they translate it as ewe. The word is say. We're talking sheep or goats. A cow, a beef, a shore, or a ewe, or a say, sheep or goat. Do not kill her and her young on the same day. You don't kill an animal and its young on the same day. And when you slaughter a slaughter of Todah to Yehovah for your own delight, there it is, for your own delight. Remember, you're the one that's going to eat it. Slaughter a slaughter of thanks to Yehovah for your own delight. You shall slaughter it. Same thing, you shall slaughter it. For your own delight, for your own delight, you shall slaughter it. On the same day, it shall be eaten. So this particular one that's used as a slaughtered Thanksgiving, a slaughter of Todah, it has to be eaten the same day. You can't eat it the next day also. On the same day it shall be eaten. You shall leave none of it until morning. I am Yehovah. So burn it all up the night before. Therefore you shall keep my commandments and perform them. I am Yehovah. Let's do this. Oh, that didn't work very well. You shall not profane my name. You shall not profane my holy name. My Shem. but I will be hallowed among Israel's seed. In Numbers, we're going to talk about swearing by Yehovah's name. I wonder if this is what we're talking about when we're talking about profaning Yehovah's name. Remember, we were talking about vow offerings. A vow offering would be something that we vowed in Yehovah's name, and when we completed the task, we did the vow offering. Could that be talking about profaning his holy name? But I will be hallowed among Israel's seed. I am Yehovah who sanctifies you. I wrote this. You shall not profane my name, my holy name, Shem, and I shall be hallowed among Israel's seed. I am Yehovah who hallows you, who sanctifies you. I put as Yehovah hallows, I put a sanctification process as Yehovah hallows Israel's seed, sanctifies Israel's seed. We teach our women, our families, our servants, and the ger who dwells with us, Yehovah's ways, for them and train them to walk in those set apart ways. So as Yehovah sanctifies us, we're sanctifying our family, our women, our children, our servants, our ger who dwell with us. We're training them. We're teaching them. We're training them to walk in Yehovah's set apart ways. He goes on saying, who brought you out of the land. I am Yehovah who sanctifies you, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your Elohim. I liked when I translated this, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be to you for an Elohim. He brings us out of the land of America, the land of New Zealand, the land of Australia, France, Germany, to be our Elohim, our only lawmaker and judge. He says, I am Yehovah. Ani Yehovah. I am Yehovah. Well, that's where we're going to stop today. Next week, we're going to talk about the feasts of Yehovah. Chapter 23 should be interesting. I've got some things that I want to share with you that I found that I think are kind of fun. And I hope that you will be with me again. Hey, guys, thanks for joining me. See you next time. Bye now.